Happy Friday, Blue and Green Room children. I'm excited to be sharing this book with you. Remember, we started a new book called Midnight on the Moon from the Treehouse series, and we read the prologue and we read chapter one. And I forgot to tell you that chapter one was called By Moonlight. And if you remember at the end of chapter one, Jack and Annie, remember their sister and brother, they made a special wish by pointing to a book that was going to take them somewhere. And the wind started blowing, and the treehouse started spinning and spinning, and it got really quiet. That was the end of chapter one. So let's find out where they went in chapter two, called The Space Motel. Chapter 2. Jack opened his eyes. He looked out the window. The treehouse had landed inside of a large white room. "What kind of training place is this?" asked Annie. "I don't know," said Jack. The room was round. It had no windows. It had white floors and a curved wall, and it was lit by very bright lights. "Hello!" Annie yelled. There was no answer. Where were all the astronauts and space scientists? Jack wondered. "There's nobody here," said Annie. "How do you know that?" asked Jack. "I just feel it," said Annie. "We'd better find out where we are," said Jack. He looked at the page in the moon book. He read the words below the picture of the dome. A moon base was built on the moon in the year of 2031. The top of the dome slides open to let spacecrafts come and leave. "Oh, man," Jack whispered. "What's wrong?" asked Annie. Jack's heart pounded with excitement. He could hardly speak. "We've landed inside of a moon base," he said. "So?" asked Annie, or said Annie. "So the moon base is on the moon," said Jack. Annie's eyes widened. "We're on the moon?" she asked. Jack nodded. "The book says the moon base was built in the year 2031, he said. "So this book was written after that, which means this book is from the future." "Oh, wow," said Annie. "Morgan must have gone forward in time to borrow it from a future library." "Right," said Jack. "And now we're in the future on the moon." Squeak, squeak. Remember Peanut from chapter one? Annie and Jack looked at Peanut. The mouse was running around in circles. "Oh, poor Peanut," said Annie. She tried to pick the mouse up, but Peanut hid behind the mango on the letter M. Remember, they were trying to find four things that started with the letter M, and mango was one of them from the Amazon. She tried to pick the mouse up, but Peanut hid behind the mango on the letter M. "Maybe she's nervous about being on the moon," said Annie. "She's not the only one," said Jack. He let out a deep breath. Then he pushed his glasses into place. "So, what's a moon base?" asked Annie. Jack looked in the book, and he read aloud. "When scientists visit the moon for short periods, they eat and sleep in the moon base." "Like a space motel," said Annie. "I guess," said Jack, and he read more. "The small base has a landing chamber and a room for storing spacesuits. And air and temperature controls make breathing possible." "So that's why we can breathe," Jack said. "Let's explore," said Annie. "We have to find the fourth thing for Margaret." No, no, no. "First, we should study this map," said Jack, and he pulled out his notebook. "You study it," said Annie. Jack copied the map, and then he drew in the treehouse. You can see the drawing. He drew a spacesuit storeroom, rocket entry, landing chamber, the treehouse, and airlock. Wow, exciting. Let's see what happens next. Okay, he said, and he pointed at the X in his drawing. We're here. Jack looked up. Annie was gone. Oh, brother, Jack said. As usual, she had left without him before they could even make a plan together. Jack put the moon book and the pencil into his backpack, and carrying his notebook and his backpack, he started out the window. Squeak, squeak! Jack looked back at Peanut, and the mouse was running back and forth on the M. Stay here and be safe, said Jack, and we'll be back soon. Jack swung himself over the windowsill. His feet touched the floor of the landing chamber. Annie, he called. There was no answer. Jack looked at his diagram. It showed only one way to go. Jack walked along the curved white wall to the stairs. He climbed the steps to a hallway. Jack, hurry! Annie was at the end of the hallway, standing in the airlock. She peered out a window in a giant door. Jack hurried towards her, and Annie stepped aside so he could look out the window. Oh, man, said Jack. What he saw took his breath away. He stared at a rocky gray land. The land was filled with giant craters and tall mountains. The sun was shining, but the sky was ink black. Say hi to the moon, Annie said softly. That's the end of chapter 2. We'll have to find out what happens next in chapter 3. Mwah. Have a beautiful weekend.